Simulan mong abutin ang iyong pangarap na magbibigay dangal sa iyong bukas. Ang suliranin, hindi laging nandyan, dapat mong harapin. Kami iyong kasama sa bawat takin, magkaakbay nating lulutasin. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ang boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ikaw lagi ang bida. Ang mga aral ay ginintuang atin ng bawat guro na siyang gagabay sa iyong pagkamulat. Naway umukit ito sa iyong isipan, maging mapanuri, sundin ng wasto at nararapat. Kagandahang asal ang ipakita, ipadama ang pusong may malasakit. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ang boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ikaw lagi ang bida. Sakali mang tayo'y subukin ng unos, ating haharapin ng walang takot. Sasamahan ka ni Fernan at Dino, ang bagong barkada mo. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, edukasyon mo'y sigurado na. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, edukasyon mo'y sigurado na.
Fernandino Teens TV.
Good morning, Fernandino teens! Welcome to another fun and exciting episode of Fernandino Teens TV Season 2. I am Ma'am Ella Andres and I will be your science teacher for today. Remember that life is fun when science has begun. Have you ever looked up at the night sky and observed patterns formed by stars? These imaginary patterns are known as constellations. In this episode, we will dig deeper into stars and constellations. So come and join me as we explore and unfold the wonders of the universe in this episode entitled Once Upon a Starry Night, the stories behind the constellations. The objectives for today's lesson are the following. First, to identify the different characteristics of stars. Second, to explain how rotation and revolution of the Earth affects the movement of the stars through the night and the different star patterns throughout the year. And third, to explain how early people used the constellations. Before we start, make sure you have your Science Self-Learning module, paper and pen with you to take note of the important terms, concepts, and lessons you will learn in today's discussion. So, let the exploration begin. In your grade 8 lesson, you have learned the NEOs or the near-Earth objects such as comets and asteroids. Comets are icy objects that release gases as it orbits the Sun, while asteroids, on the other hand, are rocky fragments smaller than a planet that orbits the Sun. Don't you know that a shooting star is not really a star? It is actually a meteor. A meteor is a meteoroid burning through the atmosphere. A meteoroid is a small space rock usually left behind by a passing comet. Meteorite is a meteor that reaches the Earth. Isn't it amazing, Fernandina teens? Now, let's sing a lullaby song and one of the most beloved nursery rhymes.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky.
The song tells us about the twinkling of stars, but stars do not actually twinkle. The twinkling of stars is caused by the refraction of light as it passes through the Earth's atmosphere. The light is refracted due to the movement of the air. The twinkling of stars observed by our eyes is a perception of light emitted by stars moving in different directions. Have you ever wondered what a star is? The star is another spectacular component in our galaxy. A star is a massive ball of hot gases. They are formed when clouds of gases, mainly hydrogen, are pulled together by gravitational forces. Atomic explosions occur inside stars. They are also so hot inside that they emit heat and light. But which star is closest to the Earth? The nearest star to our planet is the Sun. It is the center and the only star of our solar system. The Sun is a hot ball of glowing gases that gives us light so we can see and keep our planet warm enough for living things to thrive. How many stars do you think are there in the universe? When we look at the night sky, we see thousands of stars. But in reality, there are approximately 400 billion stars in our galaxy. And there are about 170 billion galaxies. Despite these numbers, a person can only see about 3,000 stars on the average. Some of them are seen with our naked eye in a clear night sky. A star can be classified based on its basic characteristics: color, size, and brightness. Let us know more about the basic characteristics of stars by doing a simple activity.
Hi there, Fernandino teens. For this activity, we will be using common household materials. All you need is a candle and a matchstick. Remember to be extra careful when handling these combustible materials. Adult supervision is advised on doing this activity. Let's start. Light the candle and observe its flame. What colors do you see in the flame? Did you see the blue area at the base of the flame? How about the yellow, orange, and red above it? Great observation! This simple activity helps us identify the colors of the stars.
The first among its characteristics is the color that ranges from red to blue. The color of a star depends on surface temperature. This figure shows the surface temperature and the color of the stars. Blue is the hottest color of stars with surface temperature ranging from 11,000 to 28,000 degrees Celsius. One example is the Spica in the constellation Virgo. White stars have a surface temperature of 7,500 to 11,000 degrees Celsius. An example of a white star is Vega in the constellation Lyra. The stars with yellow color have a surface temperature ranging from 5,000 to 6,000 degrees Celsius. An example is the Sun. Orange-colored stars have a surface temperature ranging from 3,600 to 5,000 degrees Celsius. An example is Arcturus in Bootes. Red is the coldest color of stars with surface temperature ranging from 2,000 to 3,000 degrees Celsius. An example is the Antares, the heart of Scorpio. Remember that red stars are the coldest and blue stars are the hottest. The stars can also be classified according to their sizes. They can be dwarf, giant, and supergiant stars. Dwarf stars are stars similar to the size of the Earth. These stars are less luminous and are very dense because they are made mostly of carbon. They have tightly packed nuclei. Dwarf stars are the remains of a red giant that ran out of fuel. Most are red, orange, and yellow in color. A white dwarf is an exemption to the color. A common example is our very own Sun, which is a yellow dwarf star. Giant stars are at least 10 times the diameter of the Sun. They are also old stars. An example of a giant star is the Arcturus. The Sun will swell into a red giant when it is old. Supergiant stars are the largest of all stars and are 100 times more luminous. They will eventually explode as a supernova or form black holes. Examples are Betelgeuse, Rigel, and Antares. So far, you learned about the classifications of stars according to their colors and sizes. We will continue our meaningful discussion when Fernandino Teens TV Season 2 returns. See you after the break!
Ang Schools Division Office City of San Fernando, Pampanga ay kaisa ng Department of Education sa pagsasagawa ng mga proyekto at programa na tumutugon sa mga pangangailangan ng mga mag-aaral. Inilunsad ang Division Call Center for Tutors and Guidance Counselors upang magbigay ng educational at psychological assistance sa mga mag-aaral, magulang at stakeholders ng Division. Kaya, kung may nais kayong itanong tungkol sa pag-aaral, maaaring magpadala ng mensahe sa Division Call Center for Tutors and Guidance Counselors Facebook page o tumawag sa mga numero na makikita sa ibaba ng inyong screen tuwing Lunes hanggang Biyernes sa ganap na alas 8 ng umaga hanggang alas 6 ng gabi. Maaari rin kayong sumangguni sa ating guidance counselors na nagbibigay ng guidance and counseling services. Lahat ng inyong ibabahagi ay mananatiling confidential. Ang nasabing programa ay nagsisilbing daan upang malaman ang feedbacks ng stakeholders para matulungan ang ating divisyon na mapagbuti pa ang mga sumusunod na programa. Ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Tumawag na sa aming mga numero o bumisita na sa aming Facebook page at magpadala ng inyong mga katanungan.
Fernandino Teens TV.
Welcome back, Fernandino Teens. This is still Miss Ella, exploring the wonders of the universe with you. A while ago, we discussed the classifications of stars according to their colors and sizes. This time, we will explore more about the star's brightness. The brightness of a star as seen from the Earth depends on two factors: the distance or the apparent brightness and the actual or the absolute brightness of the star. To understand it better, let's have a simple demonstration using flashlights.
For this activity, we need two flashlights with the same amount of brightness and another one with a different brightness. If you want to try this at home, remember, do not point the flashlight directly at someone's eyes. Let's start. Place the two flashlights with the same amount of brightness at the same distance from the observer. Compare the brightness of the two flashlights. What have you observed? Yes, the two flashlights have the same amount of brightness. What do you think will happen if we place one of the flashlights further away from the observer? Let's try. Now, observe the two flashlights. Compare the brightness of the two flashlights. Which flashlight appears to be brighter? Yes, the flashlight closer to the observer appears brighter. If we apply this concept to the brightness of stars, this is the apparent brightness, which refers to the brightness of a star as seen from the Earth. Based on the activity, apparent brightness depends on the distance of a star from the Earth. Let's take Sirius and Rigel as examples to illustrate the effect of distance on the apparent brightness. Compared to the Sun, Sirius is about 27 times as powerful as the Sun. And Rigel has the power of many thousands of suns. But in terms of distance from the Earth, Rigel is almost 100 times farther away than the Sirius. So in terms of the apparent brightness, Sirius is about twice as bright as Rigel. Sirius looks very bright when viewed from the Earth because it is closer to the Earth. Let's continue the activity. This time, we will use the three flashlights. Place them at the same distance from the observer. Now, compare the brightness of the three flashlights. Which flashlight appears to be brighter? Yes, flashlights A and B appear brighter than flashlight C. If stars were all placed at the same standard distance from the Earth, just like the flashlights in the activity, the brightness of the star that is seen from Earth is known as the absolute brightness. Astronomers consider the star's absolute brightness when comparing stars.
When you look at the stars in a clear night sky, you will see thousands of stars. And if you try to connect these stars, you can form images and figures. These imaginary patterns are known as constellations. In the 2nd century AD, Ptolemy listed 48 constellations and the names of which are still in use. The ancient astronomers named the constellations after personalities and creatures from their mythologies. Many of these constellations have names that can be traced back to early Babylonians and Greek civilizations. But nearly all cultures have different names for the constellations. In 1919, a group of astronomers from the International Astronomical Union, or the IAU. In 1922, the group made a list of 88 official constellations and approved the boundary of each 6 years later. The 48 constellations that were already recognized in ancient times and had been listed by the astronomer Ptolemy were retained. Before we proceed further, let us differentiate astronomy from astrology. They are two sciences that both involve constellations and stars. Astrology is a pseudoscience that determines the influence of the state of the stars and the planets at the time of one's birth on an individual's destiny or future. Many people like to read the horoscope for the fun of having one's future told. Astronomy is a science that uses the principles of physics and mathematics to explain and predict the phenomenon of celestial bodies. Astronomers, people who study astronomy, peer through telescopes and use other instruments to study the sky. They employ the scientific method to make measurements and test their theories. Constellations are classified into 3 separate categories based upon when they can be seen during the year, as well as what celestial objects move through the stars. First, circumpolar constellations are ones that are seen all year round. In the northern hemisphere, circumpolar constellations are seen near the North Star. These constellations are Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Cassiopeia, Draco, and Cepheus. In the southern hemisphere, there is no polar star as a reference point. Southern circumpolar constellations include the Crux of the Southern Cross, Carina, and Centaurus. Second, seasonal constellations are the ones that change throughout the year depending on the season. These constellations can only be seen during specific times of the year. Third, zodiacal constellations are constellations that lie along the plane of the ecliptic or the path of the sun. The ecliptic is defined by the circular path of the sun across the sky as seen from the earth. The passage of the sun through the zodiac is a cycle that was used by the ancient cultures to determine the time of the year. Examples are Taurus, Gemini, Leo, Aquarius, Sagittarius, etc. Take note that there are 13 constellations through which the sun passes, but a few cues the 13th constellation is not named in astrology. This is due to a prevailing superstitious belief that 13 is an unlucky number. Even the Babylonians did not have 13 months in their calendar. They had only 12. Astrologers must divide the 12-month period of our calendar equally among the signs of the horoscope. The constellations appear to change positions in the sky from east to west or westward. This is because of the eastward or counterclockwise motion of the Earth around the Sun. While the rotation of the Earth on its axis causes the apparent nightly movement of the stars across the sky, the revolution is responsible for the fact that we can see different parts of the sky at different parts of the year. That is why the set of constellations that a person can see changes as the seasons change. What form do you see? Very good. This is the constellation Orion the Hunter. The constellation Orion contains the 2 brightest stars in the sky, Rigel and Betelgeuse. In Christian Filipinos, Orion's belt containing the 3 stars is known as Tres Marias. What form do you see? Excellent! This is the constellation Ursa Major or the Big Bear. It is the largest northern constellation and 3rd largest constellation in the sky. The brightest stars of the Ursa Major form the Big Dipper, one of the most recognizable shapes in the sky. What form do you see? Good job! This is the constellation Draco the Dragon. The name Draco is derived from the Latin term draconem, meaning huge serpent. What form do you see? Amazing! This is the constellation Cassiopeia. According to myths and legends, Cassiopeia was a vain and boastful queen of Utopia. What form do you see? Incredible! This is the constellation Hercules. Hercules was the greatest of the Greek heroes. It is one of the 48 original constellations plotted by Ptolemy. When we return, we will explore more the night sky using a stargazing online application. So stay with us and do not go anywhere, Fernandino teens.
Maya po oras kaya kayo, Fernandinos. Ako pala ay Elwin Arl Serrano ng City Tourism Office ng Siyudad San Fernando. Ngayong bulan na ini, pagmasusyan tayo ang National Heritage Month na ating temang Victory and Humanity, Upholding Filipino Heritage and Identity. Kambena nini, metong karang aktibidades na ng siyudad, atin ning launching ng bayong Heritage Passport. Yung Heritage Passport, apin ning metong karing proyekto ng kaya katamong siyudad, yung pamanamuna ng Mayor Edwin D. Santiago. Anong nuka rin makalagelangan ding egan-agan ng heritage sites, heritage structures, naakit tamo kin kay katamong heritage district. Makakayado din kini, ding importansya da ding mapil na tradisyon kay ni syudad, kalupa na ning pamangawang parol, ang poing pamangalesa. May aw siyang heritage passport, uling atin kang dapat gawan, anong nukaran puntalan mo lading at tsuking passport, at saka ka mag-selfie. Kay ba't kanta, palto making tourism office, at mamiyalang sticker ka rin egan-agan ang apuntulan mong lugar. At timong may ngari ang tutong passport. Balo mi ngeni, panahon na ini, tamo makain bisa lumal, uli na ng COVID-19 pandemic. Kaya naman kimbanwa nga ini, agkatan ko lading bikers tamo, edad 18 hanggang 50, imbis na lumaot kayo po, di na nyo lang dita ka oras di kaya katamong heritage structures, kaya ni syudad. Anya naman karing mumunang 50 bikers ang makayari kaya katamong heritage passport, midinan lang premyong Only San Fernando loot bag. Inggawan nyo mo bakan ta makapag-register, punta kayo mismo opisina na ng City Tourism, yung munisipyo, at saka kayo magdalang metong valid ID. Kabinan kaya kayong heritage passport, ating makasipit ang instruction nung nano pa ing dapat gawan. Anya naman ka rin hanggang kapadyakin, nanano ko pa, tara na!
Fernandino Teens TV.
You are still watching Fernandino Teens TV Season 2. Earlier, you have learned some examples of constellations. And now, let us begin exploring the night sky using an online stargazing application, the Stellarium Web. Stellarium Web is an online planetarium that generates an interactive display of the sky. Users can set their viewing location, date, and time. You can access the online planetarium by typing stellarium-web.org in the search bar. It can also be downloaded on your smartphone.
Hi there, students! Today, I will teach you how to use the Stellarium Web. Are you ready? Once you open the Stellarium Web, you will be presented with the view of the sky. And if you look around the screen, there are various icons and menus which you can use to modify the view. You can change the location, date, and time according to where and when you want to view the sky. For example, you want to view the night sky on March 23, 2022 at 8 p.m. You can go to this tab and adjust the date and time. This is what you will see. In Stellarium Web, you can see the stars clearly. And if you want to see which part of the constellation they are part of, you can click this constellation icon. It shows the line patterns and the names of the constellations. But if you want to see the images which represent these constellations, you can click on this constellation art. You can use the right, left, up, and down arrows to explore the night sky more. If you want to search a specific constellation, you can go in the search tab and type the name of the constellation. For example, if you want to explore the Ursa Major, you may type here and it will bring you to the constellation you're looking for. You can click the landscape icon to view the whole constellation. Another example, you want to see and view the Scorpius. This is the constellation Scorpius. You can click this constellation art again to see the image representing the Scorpius constellation. Did you enjoy using the Stellarium web? Great! You can explore more on your own, Fernandino teens.
Let us continue our discussion. This time, let us talk about the unique culture and belief system in stars and constellations. Even during primitive times, people were fascinated with the things beyond their natural world. They were curious about what comprises the sky at night. Our ancestors divided the stars into shapes, grouped them, and named these constellations without even knowing anything about astronomy. Every culture has its own perspective about the things in space and how they interpret the constellations and other phenomena that reflect their belief system, culture, and geographical position on Earth. Ancient people used the constellations for religious purposes. This can be proven by the archaeological evidence showing how people during the Stone and Bronze Ages have worshipped the celestial bodies that they have identified early in history. The Babylonians and Sumerians thought that God's will in respect of man and his possible undertakings can be revealed by the motions of heavenly bodies. During the 5th century BCE, Babylonian astrologers started to identify the different horoscopes that we know today and tried to predict the fortunes of an individual and the natural phenomena based on the positions of stars in the sky. According to astronomers, there are several ways by which constellations can be useful to us. Here are some of them. First, to track artificial satellites with the precise locations of the constellations in the sky. Scientists and observers can track artificial satellites properly. If it were not for the precise locations of the constellations, it would be easy to misidentify a satellite as a star. Secondly, to indicate general direction. Constellations are used to indicate the general directions in the sky. They serve as guides at night for sea navigators and sky observers. And lastly, to locate certain stars or galaxies. Constellations also help in assisting astronomers and navigators to locate certain stars and galaxies. Two stars, Merak and Dubhe in the Big Dipper, are called pointer stars because they seem to point to Polaris or the North Star, which is the brightest star in the constellation Ursa Minor. It is used for navigation by sailors because it doesn't change position at any time of the year. Lately, some stars in some constellations were recognized as actually very distant galaxies. The Andromeda constellation contains the Andromeda Galaxy or M31. It is located more than 2.2 million light-years from the Earth. The constellations serve as a map during the early years, and it tells countless stories about heroes and monsters through the years of humankind and cultures. Like in other countries, our Filipino ancestors did worship stars before as their gods. They have their own version of names, prayers, and stories depending on what region they are from. The constellations and their movements, and as the season and time change, our ancestors somehow practiced following the star movements as a sign of good harvest, fishing, hunting, and other activities in the tribe. It's either a good or a bad omen when something is changing in the night sky. The constellations made it easier for them to recognize and interpret patterns in the sky. Let us see how the Matigsalug Manobo of Bukidnon, Philippines use the stars and constellations in their agriculture. Baha is known as Taurus, appears during the month of December to February, which signifies the clearing of the forests. Pandarawa is known as the Pleiades, appears during the month of January, which signifies the start of planning what crops to be planted and how wide is the area. Balatik is known as the Orion's Belt, appears during the month of February, which signifies the start of planting and setting off crops. Gibang is known as Gemini, appears during the months of April and May, which signifies the end of planting and rich harvest. Malara is known as Canis Minor, appears during the month of May, which signifies to stop planting. Now that you are already familiar with the usage and different beliefs related to constellations, we will hear a story about constellations in Greek mythology. Don't go anywhere, Fernandino teens. I will be back after a short break.
Hindi lamang sa larangan ng pangkabuhayan apektado ang maraming pamilyang Pilipino, kundi maging sa larangan ng pagkatuto ng bawat batang Pilipino. Inilunsad ng siyudad ng San Fernando ang programa Nurturing Environment and System for Thriving or NEST, isang education community pantry na naglalayon para sa isang malawakang pagtulong, paglantabay at paggabay na ang focus ay ang makapagbigay ng tulong at suporta sa ating mga mag-aaral sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng educational needs gaya na lamang ng school supplies, tutorial sessions, study tips, at iba pang mga pamamaraan na mas lalong makatutulong sa pag-angat ng ating edukasyon. Dahil hindi hadlang ang pandemya sa magandang kinabukasang naghihintay sa ating mga mag-aaral. Sino-sino nga ba ang mga kalahok sa programang ito? Sa pagtutulungan ng ating school administrators, guro, magulang, at iba pang mga miyembro ng ating komunidad gaya ng barangay officials at sangguniang kabataan ay siguradong magiging mas matagumpay ang programang ito. Paano nga ba ang magiging proseso ng naturang programa? Una, magkakaroon tayo ng isang Facebook group, ang Pampanga High School NEST Education Community Pantry na pangungunahan ng Educational Pantry Coordinator. Ang mga magulang, tagapangalaga at mga guro ay ia-add ng ating Educational Pantry members sa Facebook group na ito. Sa page na ito maaaring i-post ng mga magulang at tagapangalaga o sino mang miyembro ng Educational Pantry ang kanilang mga kahilingan o requests. Kailangan ding ilagay ang pangalan ng mag-aaral, grade, at section para sa mas agarang aksyon. Oo nga pala, hindi lang requests ang pwedeng i-post. Pwede ring mag-post ang mga nais magbigay ng tulong o mga gustong mag-donate. Sabi nga nila, sharing is caring. Tandaan na ang Facebook group na ito ay pribado at posts na may kaugnayan lamang sa page na ito ang maaaprobahan. Mayroon din palang Google Form na ipamamahagi kung saan maaari nating isumite ang ating requests o kahilingan. Paano naman ang mga walang internet access sa bahay? Huwag mangamba dahil merong mga nakalaang drop boxes ang ating paaralan na kung saan maaaring ihulog ng mga magulang at tagapangalaga ang kanilang requests. Sa mga nais namang mag-donate ng school supplies, maaaring ilagay ang mga ito sa tabi ng drop boxes. Maaari ring mag-donate ng mga kagamitan o cash donation kaakibat ang pagsusumite ng deed of donation form. Pangalawa, mahalaga ang ugnayan ng mga guro at ng mga magulang o tagapangalaga sa programang ito. Gamit ang video calls o chats ay ipahahayag ng mga guro ang adhikain ng programang ito sa mga magulang o tagapangalaga. Maaari ring gawin ang orientation na ito ng face-to-face kasabay ng schedule ng kuhanan ng mga module. Gaya ng nabanggit, hindi lamang mga bagay ang maaaring i-donate. Pwede ring mag-conduct ng tutorial session, study tips, at iba pang mga kagamitan sa pagkatuto gaya ng mga aklat o kaya ay gadgets. Ikatlo, ang requested needs ng ating mga magulang o tagapangalaga ay ililista ng ating NEST focal person. Ang mga coordinator naman ang mag-aayos ng mga ito. Ang advisors ng ating mga mag-aaral, guidance counselor, at iba pang mga guro ay ipaaalam sa ating mga magulang at tagapangalaga ang petsa at oras ng pamimigay ng requested needs na gaganapin sa paaralan. Sabi nga nila, it takes a village to raise a child. Kaya naman aktibo at iba yung pakikilahok ang inaasahan sa pagsasanib puwersa ng paaralan at barangay na siyang tutukoy sa pangangailangan ng bawat Fernandinong mag-aaral at kikilos upang matugunan ito sa tulong at suporta rin ng mga miyembro ng komunidad. Isang malawakang komunidad para sa isang produktibong educational community pantry ay tiyak na lilikha ng iba yung pagkilos upang maging mas magaan at madali ang pagkatuto ng bawat kabataang Fernandino. Kaya naman tandaan, magbigay ayon sa kakayahan, kumuha ayon sa pangangailangan.
Fernandino Teens TV.
Hello, Fernandino teens. You are still with me, Miss Ella, and we are still discovering the wonders of the universe. For years, humans have been attracted to the mystery and beauty of the stars. This fascination has manifested deeply in our culture. It can even be seen in songs, to Starry Night, and other works of art. The sky is an unlimited source of knowledge that can be used to understand not only the outer space, but the working of our planet. By knowing the intricate stories behind these constellations can be both a satisfying and humbling experience. Here is one of the famous stories about constellations. Are you ready to watch the story behind the constellation Cassiopeia? If yes, sit back, relax, and enjoy watching.
Long, long ago, in a kingdom called Utopia, King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia ruled happily along with their daughter, Princess Andromeda. Cassiopeia was very beautiful but also very arrogant and vain. It was these latter two characteristics that led to her downfall. She thought that she was better than other people. One day,
Look at my daughter. Look at us. Who can be more divine than our faces, more beautiful than all the daughters of Nereus?
Nereus was a companion to Poseidon, the god of the sea. When he found out what Cassiopeia said, he was extremely angry.
How dare she insult my daughters, who were all very beautiful? I must tell Poseidon. He will know how to punish her.
Nereus went to Poseidon and informed him of Cassiopeia's actions.
Poseidon, god of the sea, there's something urgent you must know. I heard that Cassiopeia, the queen of Ethiopia, is boasting about her and her daughter Andromeda's beauty, claiming they are far more beautiful than all my daughters.
How dare she commit such an act? She must be punished. No one shall offend the companion of the Almighty God of the sea.
Yes, I agree. And that's exactly why I came to you. What do you think her punishment should be?
Well, I need some time to ponder. Thank you for bringing this to my attention.
After much thought, Poseidon decided the best way to hurt Cassiopeia would be to kill the one she loves most, her daughter Andromeda. He sent floods in the sea monster called Cetus to destroy Cassiopeia's land. In despair, King Sapius consulted an oracle to prevent the destruction of his reign.
My queen, what should we do? Of course, I love Andromeda with all my heart, and I care for her, but until the end, I must remain loyal to my people, whom I promise to provide as long as I am their king.
My king, why are you so indecisive? There's only one option here according to the oracle we consulted. We both know what it is.
It was decided Andromeda would be sacrificed. During a dark stormy night, while Andromeda was sleeping, the king chained Andromeda to a rock at the sea's edge and left her to be killed by the sea monster.
What a waste! If a beautiful lady like her will die, I must save her!
Learning of Andromeda's story, he offered to rescue her if her parents agreed to let him marry their daughter.
My king and queen, I am willing to save your daughter with the condition that you will let me marry her.
Peleus killed the monster and married Andromeda. Unhappy that Cassiopeia was not punished, Poseidon tied her to a chair in the heavens so that she would revolve upside down half of the time. This is how Constellation took its name, resembling the torture chair that was used for Cassiopeia's punishment for her pride.
Aside from learning the mythology behind the constellation Cassiopeia, it also teaches us a life lesson to live our lives with humility. Do not boast, for we do not know what tomorrow brings or holds. The reason why stars are so important is that they have helped humans navigate through the earth. When it was dark, these stars would light up the sky, giving people light. In addition, stars are very important because they make life on Earth. Stars, since ancient times, are described as forever hope, destiny, heaven, and freedom. Humanity wasn't only inspired by the poetic beauty of the sky, but also followed the changes in the sky over the ages and guided the people for its activities such as agriculture and shipping. For our recap and summary of today's episode, let us begin to discuss the main points of today's lesson. Star is a massive ball of hot gases and are formed when clouds of gases, mainly hydrogen, are pulled together by gravitational forces. A star can be classified based on its basic characteristics, color, size, and brightness. The star's colors range from red to blue. The color of a star depends on surface temperature. They can be blue, white, yellow, orange, and red. Remember that red stars are the coldest and blue stars are the hottest. The stars can also be classified according to their sizes. They can be classified as dwarf, giant, and supergiant stars. The brightness of a star as seen from the Earth depends on two factors: distance or the apparent brightness and actual or the absolute brightness of the star. Constellations are imaginary patterns or groups of stars. There are three categories of constellations: circumpolar, seasonal, and zodiacal constellations. Rotation of the Earth on its axis causes the apparent nightly movement of the stars across the sky. The revolution is responsible for the fact that we can see different parts of the sky at different parts of the year. These are highlights of the discussion a while ago. I hope you have attentively listened to our discussion today. At this point, let us see if you fully understood our discussion. You may write your answer on a sheet of paper or type your answers on the comment box below. Are you ready, Fernandina teens? Let's start the Quiz Upon a Star. Number 1. It refers to a massive ball of hot gases that are formed when clouds of gases, mainly hydrogen, are pulled together by gravitational forces. A. Asteroid, B. Comet, C. Meteor, or D. Star. Very good, Fernandina teens. The answer is D. Stars. Number 2. How do stars appear to move in the sky? A. From east to west, B. From west to east, C. From north to south, or D. From south to north. Awesome! The correct answer is A. From east to west. Number 3. Which of the following colors of the stars is the hottest? A. Blue, B. Orange, C. Red, or D. Yellow. Excellent! The answer is A. Blue. You are the best, Fernandina teens. You really listened to our discussion. Before we end, let me share these quotes with you by Stephanie Meyer. Without the dark, we would never see the stars. We are all experiencing challenging times in our world right now amidst the COVID-19 crisis. But like the bright and beautiful stars in the night sky remind us, we sometimes have to go through the darkness to see the beauty in life. Even when you feel like all hope is lost, you have to look through the darkness and find the stars. Here are the references used for today's discussion. And there you have it. We just had another meaningful and interesting discussion. I hope that you have learned something new today. May you continue to wonder and unfold the things that surround you, because life is fun when science has begun. I am Ma'am Ella, and join me again next time in exploring the wonders of the universe. Stay safe, everyone!
Bagong umaga, yakapin mo ang bagong pag-asa. Simulan mong abutin ang iyong pangarap na magbibigay dangal sa iyong bukas. Ang suliranin, hindi laging nandyan, dapat mong harapin. Kami iyong kasama sa bawat takin, magkaakbay nating lulutasin. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ang boses mo ay mahalaga. Dito sa Fernandino Teens TV, ikaw lagi ang bida. Ang mga aral ay ginintuangatin ng bawat guro na siyang gagabay sa iyong pagkamulat. Naway umukit ito sa iyong isipan. maging mapanu